Mercedes is falling behind at the very top of the ultra-luxury SUV market, and most people haven't noticed yet. Rolls-Royce has turned the Cullinan into one of the strongest symbols in the ultra-luxury SUV world. Bentley uses the Bentayga as one of its most important modern luxury products. Range Rover SV is quietly stealing buyers from both of them. Cadillac just rewrote American flagship luxury with the Escalade IQ. And Mercedes is still selling a stretched GLS with a Maybach badge on it and calling it a flagship. That's the problem. And the answer to that problem is the vehicle this video is about, the Maybach Atlas. Quick disclosure before we go further.
Oh my God, guys, this is the luxury SUV everyone has been talking about. And today I'm showing it to you up close. Look at this front grille tie and that gold emblem. It gives the whole SUV a very premium presence. A black alloy wheels complete the look, and they make the SUV feel bold, expensive, and powerful.
Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. The current Maybach GLS is excellent. It's beautifully finished, extremely comfortable, and far more luxurious than a standard GLS. But at the highest end of the luxury SUV market, excellent is not enough, because the current Maybach GLS is also borrowed. It shares architecture, body shell, proportions, and most of its DNA with a regular Mercedes-Benz GLS. That is the problem. At this level, a flagship cannot feel like an upgraded foundation. It has to feel separate from the first sketch. And in a segment where the Rolls-Royce Cullinan is built around a bespoke luxury identity, and the Bentley Bentayga is engineered from a luxury-first platform, borrowed is a losing strategy. Not because the Maybach GLS is bad, it is not, but because the buyer at this level is not only buying leather, screens, wheels, and horsepower, they are buying separation. They want to know that the vehicle was created for them, not adapted for them. This is where the Maybach Atlas concept becomes interesting, not as a fantasy, but as a fix. A clean sheet ultra flagship SUV positioned above the Maybach GLS, bigger, longer, more chauffeur-focused, engineered from the ground up to fight Rolls-Royce and Bentley on their own terms. Not from a borrowed platform, but from a dedicated one. That's the vehicle Mercedes hasn't built yet, and the longer it waits, the more expensive that decision becomes. Here's where it gets serious. The ultra-luxury SUV segment has become one of the most profitable corners of the luxury car industry. Volumes are smaller, but loyalty is extremely high. Margins can be massive, and every brand that competes here treats the flagship SUV as one of the most important halo products it owns. Because a flagship SUV does more than make money. It tells the world what the brand is capable of when price stops being the main question.
Mercedes Maybach is the only legacy luxury name in this fight currently competing with a platform that was never created exclusively for this level of buyer, that cannot last forever. If Maybach wants to be more than the luxury trim on top of Mercedes-Benz, it needs a product that feels impossible to confuse with anything below it. Now let's talk design, and let's be direct. A vehicle like the Maybach Atlas would have to look like a statement, not a stretch. The brief is presence, not aggression. Long dash-to-axle proportions. A vertical grille architecture that doesn't borrow a single line from the GLS. Two-tone paint splits as standard, not as an option box. Rear hinge coach doors because in this segment, coach doors aren't decoration, they're a language.
They tell other ultra-luxury buyers exactly which tier you're playing in. The roofline would drop slightly toward the rear. The wheels would be designed as floor-mounted sculpture rather than performance hardware. The face would be restrained, almost architectural.
This is not a vehicle that should look fast. It should look inevitable. A Lamborghini Urus wants attention through aggression. A Ferrari Puro wants attention through speed and rarity. A Maybach Atlas would need to win in a different way. It should not shout. It should arrive with the kind of silence that makes people look before they understand why they are looking.
That is true flagship design. Now the cabin, and this is where the real war is fought. In this segment, the chauffeur experience is the entire personality. Rolls-Royce understood it first. Bentley caught up. Range Rover SV is now closing the gap. The Maybach GLS hints at it. A Maybach Atlas would have to dominate it, or there's no point building it at all.
Reclining rear thrones with acoustic frequency massage layers, not just vibration motors, a hard partition between the front and rear cabin, deployable on a single command. Crystal detailing engineered as ambient lighting. Veneers that aren't sourced, they're commissioned. And critically, real, engineered, double-glazed, vacuum-sealed silence. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan is widely treated as one of the benchmarks for ultra-luxury cabin quietness. Any Maybach flagship above the GLS would have to beat that standard, not match it. The rear cabin would also need to feel acoustically and visually disconnected from the driver's environment. Two cars in one body, one side for the chauffeur, one side for the owner. That's the standard now. Anything less, and the Atlas loses before it launches. Because the buyer for this vehicle does not want to feel like they are sitting in the back of an expensive SUV. They want to feel like the SUV was built around the rear cabin first, and everything else was engineered to support that experience. Now compare that with the technology layer. This is where Mercedes would either pull ahead or fall behind. A flagship of this size cannot use a regular MBUX layout and call it luxury. It would need a chauffeur mode digital ecosystem, rear seat command tablets that override the driver's authority over climate, navigation, audio zones, privacy settings, even ride height, predictive cabin conditioning, voice profiles that recognize which rear seat is speaking, suspension that pre-reads the road through map data and softens before the bump arrives. Something rivals are already moving toward, and a Maybach above the GLS would have to refine, not just copy. But here is the trap. Technology can impress a buyer once. Silence, comfort, and craftsmanship keep that buyer loyal for years. That means the personalization program would have to go further than anything Mercedes currently offers. Not options, commissions, thread color, stitch pattern, leather origin, custom marquetry, private color mixes, materials selected for a single owner. Rolls-Royce built an entire luxury universe around this idea. Mercedes has the engineering power to compete, but Maybach has not yet fully unlocked that level of emotional ownership. The Atlas would have to change that. On Powertrain, let's be honest, nobody knows because the vehicle does not exist. Any specific horsepower figure, range number, battery size, price, or 0 to 60 claim attached to Maybach Atlas right now is fabrication. That's not analysis, that's invention. What is reasonable to say is this: a flagship of this size launching in this decade would almost certainly need an electrified core, either a long-range plug-in hybrid V8 in the near term or a fully electric architecture for markets where regulations force the issue. But the philosophy would not be about drama. It would be about silence, smoothness, and effortless torque. In this category, power is not about making the driver feel powerful. Power is about making the passenger forget the vehicle has weight. Nobody buying in this segment cares about a tenth of a second to 60. They care whether the ride feels like a private jet at cruise. They care whether acceleration happens without noise, without vibration, without interruption. That's the brief. That's the only brief. Now the segment battlefield, because this is where the Maybach Atlas would actually have to win or fall short. Against the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, the Atlas would have to lead on technology and rear cabin innovation. Beating Rolls-Royce on prestige alone is a fight measured in generations. The Cullinan has mythology, scarcity, and global recognition. Maybach cannot simply copy that. It would need to offer a different type of authority: German precision, modern architecture, and a cabin experience that feels more advanced without feeling colder. Against the Bentley Bentayga, the Atlas would have to escalate the chauffeur experience. The Bentayga still carries driver-first energy. It is luxurious, fast, and beautifully made, but it does not fully abandon the idea of performance. That gives Maybach a lane. The Atlas could move beyond the driver and focus completely on the passenger. Against the Range Rover SV, the Atlas would have to feel less British traditional and more architectural modern. Range Rover currently owns the discreet flagship buyer. That buyer does not want flash. They want power that looks effortless. So an Atlas would need to be bold without becoming vulgar, rare without becoming invisible, and modern without becoming a rolling screen. Against the Cadillac Escalade IQ, the comparison gets sharper than people expect. Cadillac is rewriting American luxury through scale, electrification, and digital presence. A Maybach Atlas would have to answer with old-world craft, not louder displays. The BMW X7 and Lexus LX sit a tier below this conversation, but they define what the Atlas is not. And the Lamborghini Urus and Ferrari Puro Sangue, different category entirely. Performance prestige, not chauffeur prestige. The Atlas, by definition, would have to refuse that comparison. It is not a driver's SUV, it is a passenger's SUV. That distinction is the entire personality of the segment. So the buyer decision is simple. If you want old world mythology, you buy the Cullinan. If you want craftsmanship with driver appeal, you look at the Bentayga. If you want discreet modern luxury, the Range Rover SV makes sense. If you want electric scale and American presence, the Escalade IQ becomes interesting. But if you want German engineering, Maybach heritage, chauffeur-first comfort, and a vehicle that feels completely separate from every normal Mercedes SUV, then the Atlas concept is the missing answer. So would Mercedes actually build it? Arguments in favor. The Maybach division is underutilized as a sub-brand. The margins on ultra-flagship SUVs can be extraordinary, and every rival is reinforcing this segment, not retreating from it. Arguments against a clean sheet flagship SUV is a billion-dollar bet during an EV transition, where Mercedes is already balancing risk. Doing this wrong would set Maybach back for a decade. But here's the harder truth. Doing nothing also costs money over time. Every year, Mercedes leaves this gap open. Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Range Rover, and Cadillac become more established in the minds of ultra-luxury SUV buyers. And once buyers at this level build loyalty to a flagship experience, moving them is extremely difficult. The Maybach Atlas, or something very close to it, may not be optional in 5 years. It may be overdue. The buyer for this vehicle isn't chasing horsepower. They're chasing privacy, presence, and craft. They may already own a Cullinan, a Bentayga, a Range Rover SV, or a Maybach S-Class. They are open to switching only if something offers a meaningfully different rear cabin experience. They want their driver to handle the front. They want the world to handle itself outside the glass. And they want the inside to feel commissioned, not configured. Build for that buyer, and only that buyer, and the Atlas concept becomes a real strategy. So here's the verdict. The Maybach Atlas is not a fantasy because the market does not need it. The market clearly does. It is a fantasy because Mercedes has not yet decided whether Maybach should fight Rolls-Royce as a true equal or continue living inside the shadow of the GLS. And that decision matters, because if Mercedes builds this halfway, it fails. If it builds it as another upgraded SUV, it fails. If it builds it without scarcity, coach door theater, rear cabin silence, and a genuinely separate identity, it fails. But if Mercedes builds it properly, clean sheet, chauffeur-led, rare, silent, and uncompromised, then Maybach stops being the badge on top of a Mercedes SUV and becomes a real rival to the Cullinan. That is why the Atlas concept matters. So I want your verdict. Should the Maybach Atlas stay a concept, or is it the flagship Mercedes has to build before this segment is fully defined by someone else? Drop your answer in the comments. I read everyone. And if you want more deep concept reviews on future luxury SUVs, subscribe to the channel, because the next generation of flagship cars is only getting more interesting.